Okay, so now I'd like to invite Igor Lukšić to make his remarks to the floor.
Sure. Well, good morning to you all. First of all, it's really great to see the Economist events here in Montenegro. I remember some years ago I took part in one of the events in Split, and it was also quite interesting. But it is amazing to see how things change rather quickly nowadays. It was only 2 or 3 years ago. It's not only reflected in names and faces that change around the region of the people who drive the governmental work, but it's actually so many different events taking place, so many challenges opening up, and really great pressure on all those key decision makers to act properly. It is at the same time, it's a privilege to take part in this kind of a panel and discuss about Europe in a tightrope, the rise of populism in the wake of Brexit and all these elections around Europe. But it's actually a daunting challenge at the same time because we have 30 or 40 minutes for all this, whereas EU leaders usually after day-long meetings end up in small hours trying to resolve the crisis. Which probably also shows or tells a lot about the need to be more proactive, because all those underlying trends keep on working, and we seem to be here in Europe very slow in responding. Let us go, let's take one step back and take a look at the bigger picture. Because all these underlying trends that have led to the rise of populism, the Brexit, the runoff between Le Pen in France and Macron, who is pro-liberal, leading his En Marche movement, all that we expect to see as an outcome of German elections or Italian elections. Nobody talks about Italian elections, but that's also one of the crucial elections to take place in a year or so. All that has to do with, in my view, the resistance that different populations show towards globalization, and that's, I think, we need to understand. It is actually a sort of a paradox. 2 years ago, there was first ever bottom-up process that led to Agenda 2030, a global effort to pass Sustainable Development Goals, 17 of those goals. Of course, we had Millennium Development Goals, but compared to SDGs, it was still top-down. This one was, for the first time ever, a bottom-up process. And in a way, it's an irony or paradox that while having that and while discussing how to approach all those 17 goals, you have so many different forces at play who pull things in different directions. And I don't think that the EU has managed really to reflect properly on where we are, what we should do. And I think that we need to share also frustration when we hear some of the European leaders unable to console with proper vision. I listened to the speech of President of the European Commission 2 months ago, and he offered 5 scenarios. But usually you expect from leaders to give you vision and solutions, not scenarios. You expect from analysts, the Economist intelligence unit and so on, to give you scenarios. You need visions. And that's what we lack today. And coming from Southeast Europe, coming from Western Balkans, coming from Montenegro, I think we all actually share also frustration that there was no single word about enlargement there. There was a hint of what Europe, what sort of the direction Europe might take. But for example, there was no mention of enlargement. And Western Balkan countries must feel frustrated because of that. Because I also remember some years ago, when I was foreign minister, we were kept reassured that enlargement process goes on and so on and so on. Then the new commission came. Then the department that deals with that changed the name, and it became Neighborhood and Enlargement Talks. There was a bit of a consolation there because enlargement talks referred to us. But we just listened to Yorgos Papandreou, who reminded us that he was foreign minister when Thessaloniki summit took place in 2003, and there was Thessaloniki agenda, and everybody was talking about 2014 as a date of the enlargement in case of Western Balkans. As foreign minister, I was flirting with 2020, 2021. Now I'm not really very sure. We keep on stretching that, and to a certain extent, it also has to do with our own homeworks, but it also has to do with the larger picture. The other day, I also read that President Juncker had been disappointed in a way, very skeptical as after the dinner he had with Theresa May, because it seems that all the focus now goes to how to handle Brexit. And I admit it's hard to juggle all these balls at the same time, but I think we must. I mean, EU is still the most developed part of the world. The purchase power is still the highest. We're talking about, you know, standards that other parts of the world still sort of crave to reach, and so on and so on. And we seem to be unable to overcome some of the disputes, some of the different approaches, and so on and so on. So it is a challenge for us. And as far as Western Balkans are concerned, I really believe in the vision of the European integration. I think it is actually the time for the EU to show commitment to the enlargement rather than give up. I think we need to apply a vision that probably is something called multi-speed or whatever, but I think it has to open the door for quicker accession. We need to be able to come forward with innovative mechanisms, how to help countries in the region to develop infrastructure. I'm talking about corridors, energy transmission, also boosting trade. And I don't think we need to, refine the formulas. I think we need to use common sense, and that's that's where we are as one of the best ways to address, as you put it, the tightrope we are in right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.